Hello, everyone. I am recording live from my closet. If you are just tuning in to the From Hobby to Full-Time podcast, a podcast for personal stylists, we have taken a little bit of a break. The past month, I have been renovating a house and moving. So if you follow me on Chic Stripes, you'll know a little bit about that journey and that story. But I was formerly living in about a 400 square foot studio apartment and recently purchased a home with my partner that is 1,700 square feet. And it was a little bit of a fixer upper. So we had a few months to do some of those renovations. And of course, we started an Instagram to chronicle that. If you want to follow that, it is at dwell.98. I am just mentioning that because I personally love seeing what people do to their houses, and it is really fun for me. So I took a little break from recording podcasts, and I am now getting settled back into my routine and getting things all back in line for you guys. So that is just a little personal update. If you are watching this on YouTube, which I record all my podcasts and put them on YouTube as well, then you will see a little bit of a glimpse into my closet. It is the least echoey spot in my house right now. So a lot of the house is still undone. We still need to move some furniture up in. We need to get furniture up in here. And so it's a little echoey in some spots. But anyway, we are back. It is, by the time you're listening to this, it's going to be the middle of July. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm having not a hard time believing it's July, but a little bit of a hard time believing that it's July, much less the middle of July, meaning that we're in the middle of summer. Summer's almost over, which means it's going to be fall, which means it's going to be Christmas, which means then we can start with 2021 and start this whole year thing over again. So that leads me to one of my topics for today. I want to talk about how we're navigating in-person personal styling services in this weird post, but during COVID world. So we want to kind of talk about our in-person styling services back and how are we navigating them? So this question has been coming up in the Founders Club lately as a lot of states and countries or places are slowly opening up after quarantine. And they want to know, how in the world are you doing your personal styling services? But really, that is not a hard question, right? Because we know like what to do and what not to do about COVID. So that's not really the question at all. The real question is, how do you feel about doing in-person services? How are you keeping yourself and your family and your clients safe? Do you want to go back to doing in-person services? Do you feel safe as a stylist going into potential strangers' homes, touching all of their stuff, and breathing in the same air, and then going back about business as usual? Because whether we like it or not, COVID has definitely changed up quote unquote business as usual. I personally think we are going to be kind of living in this new world of masks and gloves and being really aware of other people around us, especially strangers, for quite some time. And this is not in any way, shape, or form to put in fear or fear mongering or conspiracy theories or anything like that, because I don't believe in those things. I don't believe in responding fearfully to situations, but I do believe in responding realistically and in keeping with your own integrity and your own values and keeping yourself safe. So whether you like COVID or not, believe in it or not, like that you have to wear masks or not, there are some laws and regulations in place that you are going to have to follow because the world is opening back up. So just as we had to adjust to the world when it went completely virtual, we have to adjust to this new normal of some people are going to want in person, some people are not, and you yourself may not even want in-person services back. You may not feel comfortable doing that. Or you may be jumping at the bit to get back into those in-person services. And so we're going to talk about how you can navigate that as well. So the question I really want you to take a few minutes and answer, because this is going to guide the rest of our discussion and it's going to guide how you navigate this, is instead of answering that obvious question of how are you doing in-person services, is taking a few minutes to ask yourself, do I want to return or start in-person services? So just settle in quietly and ask yourself that and see what happens in your body. Do you get a jolt of excitement, maybe tingling in your fingers or your arms or your spine? Or do you feel a little bit of hesitation and uneasiness in your stomach, or a little bit of like nausea or feeling sick? Those are feelings that your body is giving you to tell you the answer to that question of, do you want to return to or start in-person services in this world of COVID that we live in right now? And if you listen to it, that is going to be your guiding North Star to make the best decision that you can make for yourself, for your family, for your business, and to remain in your own integrity. Because I want to tell you that at the end of the day, regardless of phases or what everyone else is doing or what people think you should do or what people tell you you should do, you and only you can make the right decision for yourself. And your body is going to intuitively know that. A lot of times what happens, because we are taught, and I'm learning that this is maybe more of a distinctly might be a white person American thing, is that you don't rely and we're not in touch with our feelings and our bodies. We're taught that feelings are excessive. We make decisions based on the brain and the mind, not the heart, right? And that is a little bit opposite of what we should actually be doing. And so you may not be as in touch with those feelings and your body and what you should be doing as you think you are. And so this may take time and practice, but this is a really great place to start. Because 9 times out of 10, that kind of gut feeling or that intuition that we get, or that idea of like, oh, I never felt good about that. That is your body and your intuition telling you, giving you guidance on a direction and action you should take. So going to in-person services or staying virtual or doing a combination is something that only you can decide. And I want to tackle both scenarios with some realistic action steps, because no doubt when you go, whatever you decide to do, you're going to have clients who are going to agree with your decision and disagree with your decision. You're going to have clients who want in-person services and clients who don't want in-person services. You're going to have clients who want virtual services and clients who don't want virtual services. And you're going to have a whole host of people on social media telling you that what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is right. So the only way for you to really, truly be confident in your decision is to tune in to that body response. So I want to talk a little bit practically about what it means if your response is, no, I don't want to do in-person services. I want to stay with virtual, or I want to continue what I've started working on during COVID. So number one is your decision is that you want to stick with virtual. So personally, I think that sticking with virtual and at least having virtual as some component of your offerings is a smart business move. This is not a prediction and I'm not a health expert, but with the way the trends are going, I imagine that there's going to be some sort of spike in COVID cases, and there might be a return to stay at home orders again. I don't know that that's the case, but it's very possible. And so don't abandon the virtual services that you started just because we're opening back up again. And especially if you've made the decision to stick with virtual, then know that that's where you want to be, okay? And so if you want to stay with virtual and not do in person, come up with your reason for why, okay? Because why you want to do it is going to be, again, that guiding North Star. And that can be whatever reason resonates with you and it's true for you. That can be that it's safer for you, it's safer for your family. That can be because you love your virtual process and it's obviously as good, if not better, than in person. And you can work to make it as such. Or maybe that's just how you want to operate your business anyway. You want to be virtual, you want to be online because you know you can reach more people than you could if you strictly had an in-person business. But when you know your why, then you're going to stay the course when someone questions you. And you can even cut down on some of those questions by preemptively talking about how, yes, we're opening back up, but this is the decision I made for me and my family. This is the decision. This is the way that my business is going. So you can establish that early on. So number two, let's talk about going back to in-person services. So first things first, you are going to want to find out what the regulations are where you live. Everywhere is going to be different. All of the phases are different. I think here in Richmond, Virginia, in the United States, we're in phase 3, but there are still regulations as to the size of gatherings, what can be open, if you need to be wearing masks or gloves while you are there. And then different businesses are responding to this very differently. Some businesses are choosing not to open. And so know that that's totally within the realm of what you can do as well. Just because your city is going back into opening doesn't mean you have to if you as a business owner don't want to. But I know a lot of you are anxious to get back into those in-person connections. You love that feeling of being in a closet, of really having that tactile information. So knowing what the rules and regulations are is going to be your first step in line of defense, if you will. So I would say that for most places, that's wearing masks indoors. It can also include wearing gloves, and that's a really awesome extra safety precaution for yourself and for your clients. And then having hand sanitizers and wipes on hand is a good idea, especially if, say, you are meeting up to do shopping at a mall, or you're shopping inside of a boutique. Now, hopefully most of these places, since they are open, they do have these additional regulations of safety requirements that they need to adhere to. But again, it is your responsibility as a stylist, and if you're doing in-person shopping sessions, to go the extra mile with this. So I would actually suggest that you have these kind of safety items, these 4 safety items in your styling kit and in your car, so that you always have a backup. And it's not a terrible idea either to have potentially an additional extra mask and additional extra gloves for your clients if you need them. So the second thing is to kind of, again, go back to this why, deciding why do you want to get back to in-person services, and doubling up on that, doubling down, and then also establishing what your policies are going to be regarding in-person services. And this is something that you can establish early on and communicate with your clients, with your potential clients, and on social media as well, right? Because either decision you make, people are going to question it. They're either going to say you're not taking it seriously, or they're going to say it's still not a good idea, even if you're wearing masks and gloves. So as long as you can, again, come back to your why, come back to your policies, and know that you are doing everything that you are supposed to be doing to remain safe for you and your clients, then that's a good enough reason, and you can back that up. So again, your clients may not be as concerned as you. Everybody is so different on this, but this is where your policies can come into play. And if you potentially have a client that doesn't want to adhere to the policies, you can come back to that and say, well, hey, guess what? If you don't want to do a mask, I totally understand. They're uncomfortable for me as well. However, my policies state that I'm going to be wearing masks and gloves and expect my clients to do the same in my sessions. Or your option is to do one of my virtual offerings, and here is that virtual offering. So there are a number of ways you can go about this, but understanding what your policies are and how you want to handle different scenarios is going to be key in helping you to navigate through this in a way that is going to be authentic, a way that's going to be the safest for you and the safest for your clients, and just to be a responsible human being in general, okay? And know that there may be some people who do have exceptions to wearing mask rules. That's something I've become aware of. People with certain health conditions, people that potentially have some trauma or PTSD around wearing something on their face. So be mindful of that, communicate those policies, but then know where there might need to be some leeway, and know how you are still going to protect yourself and your clients if they are not able to maybe take those precautions. So either way you want to take your services, and either way that you are going to navigate this getting back into the world as it reopens as a personal stylist, there are 3 things I want you to take away from this. 1, I want you to know your why about what you want to do with your business, and number 2, how you're going to do that. So I want you to establish your safety policies, and I want you to communicate that with your clients. That can be through newsletters, direct email, and social media. And finally, number 3, stock up on what you need to be safe for you and your clients. So regardless of how you are going to navigate it, we're all going to just keep pivoting, we're all going to keep navigating, and we're all going to keep learning together. So enjoy. Whether you're in person or you're virtual, enjoy the changing world, and honestly, give yourself a freaking high five because you just navigated a global pandemic. You created new virtual services that probably before you didn't even think were possible. And we got to all kind of do it together as a world. And I think it's pretty cool. And now you have a new way of doing business going forward. So if anyone ever tells you that quarantine sucked, maybe it did a little bit, but you also got a lot out of it. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you are a personal stylist, especially if you are a new or aspiring personal stylist, then the Founders Club doors are open. They are actually open all summer long. Usually they are shut and closed and you only have a couple options to get in. But I really want to make sure that you guys can have the coaching calls, the industry experts, the access to the Biz Bootcamp to give you resources and templates to start your business and to be a really successful, thriving personal stylist. So if you are interested in that, you can go to the link in my Instagram bio. You can send me a DM. You can probably find it on the internet if you are good at Googling. But however you want to get that information, let me know and we will get that to you. And we look forward to seeing you on the inside. All right. We will see you next week on the next podcast episode. Peace out from me and my closet.